Okay, good evening. So, we're going to jump in tonight, um, and we are going to have a review of where we've been on our bear hunt. So, our bear hunt has taken us a lot of different places. We've seen a lot of crazy things this year. I just want to give a quick shout out to Miss Curtis for this beautiful picture that I borrowed from the CNY Central Gallery for our cover page tonight. I want to go ahead and get into um, a review of where we're at and make sure that we're all staying focused on the goals of the bear hunt. So we're trying to figure out what happened to the pump bus. Disappeared about 12 years ago, but it was still on the website 3 years ago. Okay, so in order to be able to figure out what happened to this family engagement activity that was district wide, we've done a couple things. So we've asked some questions at some meetings, we've put in some FOIL requests, and when none of those things got answered, we started looking at the paperwork. So we've spent, almost 2 years now looking at the accounting codes for the schools and trying to understand the code that goes along with all the school purchases. So we've got figured out how the code goes, and we've explored some of the different parts. Um, we found some honey in budget F, class 21100. And, where there's honey in a forest, you're probably going to find some bears. So we've been looking at budget F, class 21100 kind of closely, right? Because this is different from budget A. So budget A is the um, operating budget, and then budget F is your federal budget and the federal money. Okay, so we spent some time looking at um any consultancy or purchase or any document that's come through the boardroom, right? So when we look at budget F class 21100, we see something like this. Okay. We see our P-Tech programs. We see our teacher residency programs. We see, and we also found some couple other things. We found a couple rattlesnakes. We found some more of our teacher trainings like Elite Gaming, right? So budget F21100. Um, they're training our teachers in some of our technology and robotics stuff. Street Addiction Institute is in here. Okay. And in case you missed the videos and anyone was wondering exactly who are the two rattlesnakes, we can circle them tonight. Contract community services and coordinated care services. And this is more than just an acronym issue when we are getting mixed feedback from our teachers and our principals. When some teachers and principals really like the program and really like people from CCSI, right? And then some people are just saying, well, they just sit in the back of the room and they just collect data. Like, we need to make sure, for various reasons, that we understand who's in our schools and why. Okay, so if they are there to collect just data and observe, then we need to make sure that's what they're doing. And if they're supposed to be up helping our teachers with behavior problems, we need to make sure that they're standing up, participating with students in a healthy way, and helping teachers with behavior problems. And I have no idea what they're going to do for McKinney Brighton kids, but if that's on the paperwork now, then that's on the paperwork now too. So we need to it's more than just an acronym issue when we're trying to get organized and be effective and efficient in how we use our federal funds and our Title I funds. Okay, so we can keep exploring through budget F class 2100 a little bit more here. Okay, so I just wanted to show you some of the names that have just came through. Okay, so our Perkins grant has come in and out of there. Elite Gaming, P-Tech, Micron, Title IV, ESF, Student Support Services as a department. All of that is um, Budget F Class 21100. Okay, now another way to do this would say that student support, teacher development, student career readiness, 21st century learning, and a couple miscellaneous things are consolidated into budget F class 21100. Okay, now the bear hunt mission here, guys, is our family involvement money. So I'm not talking about teacher development. I'm not saying the proportions on these circles are even accurate. I'm just providing an illustrative picture of what budget F class 21100 looks like as a consolidated bucket. If it was a snowman, it would be the one big part of our snowman near the bottom, and it would have a lot of stuff inside it. Okay, now family involvement money, because we have found a couple things that have come through for family involvement in 21100, but it doesn't add up to how much money we know is in our Title I funds. Okay, so what else do we know about the federal budget? Okay, what other information have we been able to collect? Because this information has been collected as we've been looking at other things. Okay, so we have other class codes that have appeared besides 21100. We have class code 23300. So classes function. So this is a big, like a function of the agency. So 211 is like teaching regular schools, but not, you can't quote me there. But we can look at these because these are all hypothesis and these are all process of elimination. Okay, and we'll get to how we process of eliminate through these in a second. So 23300, 23400, and 62930. How do we figure out what those class codes are or what they could be? So you can run them through the Board of Education website and read the documents to see what comes up familiar and what each document has in common. Okay, so budget F class 23400 looks to be, from the information available, the or the bucket for adult education only. So GED programs, night schools, St. Lucy's, right? Okay, and then we have another one that is 62930. When you run this through and you review the documents and the things that have been approved with this number, they all come out to be OCM BOCES. Okay, now we can look back at this and we can talk about these other parts. Because I know that we do have some people in the city who are looking specifically for the refugee assistance program that is spread out through 23400 and 23300 federally, right? So the refugee assistance program is kind of, that money is looking like it's in every classroom. I haven't seen any specific bucket that says that money is like separated. It just seems to be an operating unit that's using that money once it's dropped off someplace else, unlike the adult education money that seems to be all right here. Okay, so we are going to go back into family involvement here, and we are going to finish reading um this list, because there was another federal thing that showed up this year on the list that was grayed out a little bit. The class code function was X'd out, and it was for a company called Solution Tree. Okay, so what happens when you type solution tree into the search bar on the Board of Education website? You find previous expenditures from solution tree. And then one of the nice things about looking through the school is because this is a systemic and this is a system and these things are ingrained in the school and the school relies on some of these things year after year, you can easily identify patterns in what they're doing. Okay, so even if it's grayed out in one place, you can look back and see if you can find it in another place, and that's exactly what we've been able to do with Solution Tree tonight. So you see a consultancy where they used that federal 21100 class. You see one under 10,000, and then you see another one for over $10,000. And then I want to call your attention to this one. Um, because this is the one we're going to be focused on tonight, and it's really important to understand exactly what you're looking at on this piece of paper. Okay. This is Solution Tree, who is going to help professional learning communities tailored in the context of each school through the end of August 2025. Okay, so this is ongoing right now. We're not at the end of August 2025. This is very current. This is a very current document. Okay. And it is, we can talk a little bit about the company because it should be on here. So this is a professional development company. I think I might have pulled the image during when I was editing the slideshow. But as it says it right on the document, professional learning communities. So when you go and you look up Solution Tree on Google, it's like a teacher wellness and professional coaching service for teachers. Okay, that's how they sell themselves as in a broad way. Okay, so all this money right here, this FG25236 and FG5216, I just want everybody to be very clear about what this money is. That is our Sign 1103 Basic Improvement Grant and some of our Improving Achievement for the Disadvantaged grant. So this box right here, we're going to fill this box in together tonight so everybody can see it. Let's get a better pen. This is grant number 2. Oh, that's a horrible pen. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Two, three, six. And our signed basic improvement grant is 216. Or no, there's a reverse. All right, so I'm going to draw the arrow and switch them. They're reversed, but there's our grants. So our basic improvement grant, those are the funds that are assigned to each school that the principal says that help the school sites be autonomous and different from one another. That's all this money you see here on the right. Okay. And at the end of August 2024, or around that time, it looks like they had $500,000 left, approximately, and they dumped it into some type of ongoing program for our teachers. And like, I take issue with that as a parent. Okay, I take issue with that because that's, more family engagement activities we could have been doing at our school sites. That's a lot of signed basic improvement money to just have left over at the end of the year. And if they wanted to do something like, I don't know, buy a Microsoft account for every parent organization leader, PTO president at the school site, they could have done that. It would have helped cross collaboration in the district, and they would have still had money. But like, this is not the first time they've moved the signed basic 1003 grant. Like when they move the sign basic 1011003 grant, they always do it in large chunks, and we shouldn't have large chunks of that money left over. That money should be spent all year long throughout the year. By the end of the year, that sign basic improvement grant should not be there. There should be nothing left to move of that grant, okay? Because at the beginning of the year, all of our PTO groups and our family groups met and sat down and said, this is how we're going to spend this money. And everybody signed a piece of paper to that effect. So why is there so much money left over? Because it's not actually happening. Okay, we are not meeting our involvement to our engagement um activity ends, goals, means. Okay, when we're not meeting that. And that's not news to anybody. Okay, anybody who's familiar with these knows that's not news. But we're gonna try to stay focused. The image you see on your screen is other family involvement money that I'm still waiting for it to pop up, still waiting for it to find to see where it's being consolidated or sent to or where it's being spent. Okay, what we're trying to talk about tonight is literally this money right here, guys. Okay, the sign basic 1003 grant. This is the money that the teachers, that the principals should have on standby so the family group can print flyers without going into their daily paper counts. That's the money right there. Okay, this is the money for us to print out paper ballots every month and vote on things. This is the money to accept the report every month for what is being taught in our classrooms that's written out on a piece of paper. That's this right there. Okay, guys. And that is engagement and involvement at its core. So now we are going to talk about what is happening with our family involvement and engagement in our school sites. Okay, so if you might have missed it, if you didn't watch all of the work session footage, it wasn't really announced that Hanover Research presented their first quarterly report on the school district strategic plan. So we hired this big bad company. They come in, they listened, they evaluated, they built us a strategic plan and now we are working on getting ready to implement and act out this strategic plan between 2024 to 2029. Okay. One of this first quarterly report that they presented included an instructional assessment. So they went in and they assessed the way instruction is delivered throughout the district. Now, it is very wordy trying to listen to what these guys say. When they gave this um report, they gave it with definitely they were speaking intentionally to the administrators, okay? Um Now and the Board of Education members. But I do have part of this footage for you tonight that we're going to listen to, and then I'm going to tell you, besides the report being very wordy and very hard for a non-seasoned administrator to understand, then I'm going to tell you what else I didn't really like and what concerns me about this Hanover project.
Thank you. Scott, Matt? There questions? Yes. I have two quick questions. The first one is in terms of accountable talk, is that something that in a district that hadn't brought that up as a something to look for, that would that be something that you would look for in an audit?
That's a great question. So we would, by definition, be looking for strategies to be able to support the highest level of rigor within the classroom possible. So we wouldn't call out accountable talk. There's a number of methodologies that really support students owning their own learning and independently being able to, not just independently, but having direct instruction and support for metacognitive strategies. And so, built into our approach are lenses that are looking for those strategies. If you look at instructional frameworks, many of them look at levels of rigor. And when looking at levels of rigor, raising the bar of rigor for students alone is not enough. There needs to be systems for teachers to be able to understand that their job is not only to raise the bar, it's to teach students to be independent in their capacity to be able to grapple with higher levels of rigor. So we would look for evidence of rigorous materials, but also teaching methodologies that provide students with the skills, not just content specific skills, but thinking skills, problem solving skills that allow them to be able to independently approach learning, because those are transferable skills, whether they're in math or science, or for that matter, when they're out in the work world, the degree to which they learn those metacognitive strategies, that is.
Volume was a little bit bad on that. And I appreciate you bearing with me. You can always go rewatch it again, but again, understand their volume is already bad. Okay, they don't have the best setup, and I'm recording their volume, so it's our volume is bad on these video footage is just for the sake of argument. Okay, so what that kind of gives you an idea of what Hanover Research was doing, right? It was an audit, okay? And in the rest of their footage, they talk about the math curriculum and the ELA curriculum. And when I first saw this strategic plan, I was kind of excited. I had read the reviews about Hanover, and I know that a lot of people say that they start something they can't finish. Um, but it is what it is, and they are one of the best. So, we I went ahead and waited for the strategic plan to come out. And on the strategic plan, we have priorities. Okay. And one of those priorities, what is it, guys? It's engagement, right? Because again, we are on a bear hunt and we are talking about family involvement and engagement. So when Hanover came and did their instructional assessment, I was pretty excited because I was thinking, okay, like we have math teachers, we have ELA teachers, and we have engagement teachers. We have family involvement program aides who are also responsible for going out into the community and teaching things, right? And if you don't believe me, I can prove it to you because we've got the family involvement handbook for the district tonight. And I don't know if Hanover saw this or not. I don't know if the district made this available to them, but we do have staff in the family engagement department who are also using a curriculum. And this curriculum should also be a rigorous curriculum. A curriculum that brings us into the 21st century that has high standards and high expectations for everybody. Okay. And it was very disappointing to see that engagement is already falling behind as we look at analyzing Syracuse City School District and setting up for our strategic plan. Because remember, the goals for family engagement in the strategic plan as it's currently approved are already soft goals. Okay, so when you look at the strategic plan, there's no hard family involvement goals. They approved it with soft goals. So, to me, that would be one of the first areas that I would go and look at in assessing in Syracuse City School District is where is your family engagement staff? What curriculums are they using? And how do we fill in these family engagement columns, corner posts, right, with more hard goals? And how do we make sure that this doesn't just end up as a little icon on a piece of paper and nothing ever gets done? Okay, so we are looking at the handbook. Here's the cover, guys. Okay. Jamie Alizea, Superintendent of Schools, 2022. There's not another one of these available with Davis's name on it that I was able to find. Okay, and so let's go ahead and take a look at what this was and is until, they release something that says otherwise. Okay, so we see that the name of the curriculum the Family Engagement Department using is the Dual Capacity Building Framework. We see that this instruction manual or training guide also has the Board of Education Family Engagement Standards, and there's some tools for developing your school's family engagement plan. So let's briefly, because this is a long document, I'm going to show you guys this. This is the dual capacity framework for family school partnerships. And I'm not trained in this, so I can't really tell you too much about it. I do want to point out the policy and program goals because it is an action sentence. It's the only action sentence in this framework. It says to build and enhance the capacity of staff and families in the 4C areas. And I can relate to those C areas, capabilities, connections, cognitions, and confidence. Like I've talked about those before myself and needing those um in the district. Okay, so but we're gonna keep going here. It's just a little bit. Um, this right here, this is an interesting little image. This describes how the relationship changes when a parent meets the family engagement department. Um, like how it shifts from an individual, just the parent's job or just the teacher's job to a team's job, right? Because you're supposed to have a network or a family group that's lifting you up and helping you change your negative school experiences into positive experiences. So that's in here. If we go back to this example, okay, this is I just wanted to show you how uh non-rigorous this example is. If we had to rate this curriculum on a scale of 1 to 10 on whether this example of parental and family engagement was held a high expectation for the age between the agency and the parent, or whether it held a low expectation between the agency and the parent, right? Like if you just had to pick one through five, like that would be something you could look at to pick. Like to me it looks like a whole bunch of fluff, but maybe I'm missing something. It doesn't really like that. There's no action sentences there. There's no timelines. So now we have some forms. All right. So there's the SLT members. Remember, those are the people who get paid. There's the PTO, PTAP, PFO, PTSO leadership because the group has to have leaders. There's your parent council. There's the superintendent parent council representative because each school site has to have a parent in that council, even though they don't get treated like council members. Okay. Now, again, this is the family involvement handbook for the school district. Now, here we get into some self evaluation forms, and we're going to come back to these in just a second. and this is going to be our family involvement game for the night. This is our bear hunting game for the night. I'm going to live rate. I'm going to fill out these forms live, according to the last PTO meeting I went to. But before we do that, oh, see, technology. This is what happens. Well, I forgot to hit a button. We can go back. Here's the handbook, and I'm not going to repeat myself, but I will show you guys the handbook, and then we will live rate the form. So here's the handbook. Here's the outline of the curriculum. That's the picture I was talking about. Here is the example of engagement. So this, if you wanted to rate this curriculum on a scale of 1 to 5 as to whether this curriculum held our family engagement department up to high standards or low standards, this is what I was talking about. And then the other image that I was talking about explained what's supposed to happen when you meet your family engagement team. So I do apologize about that. That's what happens when you produce and commentate at the same time. Sometimes you miss your cue, but there it is. Um, so when you meet your family involvement team, your school experience is supposed to change, right? So instead of being just your job to help the kid be successful or just the teacher's job for the kid to be successful, family and engagement or involvement comes in and it changes to shared responsibility, or according to the curriculum provided by the school district. All right, now before I rate these forms, okay, there's all of those, right? Before we get into these forms, I do just have to tell you guys something. Okay. Now I firmly and wholeheartedly disagree with I guess most of the academic field. Okay. And I'm gonna tell you why. So in this paragraph here, this came straight out of that handbook. We were just looking at this picture. Okay. It says, for decades, we were led to believe that the role of parents and families in schools was to host bake sales and other activities, to generate additional funds for school field trips, chaperone field trips, or serve as class parent. While all of those are important and useful, they do not result in an increased student achievement. Effective family engagement leads to a more successful outcome for students. It is necessary for schools to reframe their thinking from what was the traditional family involvement to the more proactive family engagement. Now, what that is really saying there is that at some point in time, the federal law switched from No Child Left Behind to the Every Student Succeeds Act. Okay, so the main educational degrees in our countries, they switched. And when they went into the Every Student Succeeds Act, or no, early second, ESSA, I don't remember the acronym. Anyways, they switched. When it left No Child Left Behind, the law used to say family involvement, but it wasn't working. They weren't getting the results that they wanted. So they added more support and more systems and more technology and more 21st century direction. And when they rewrote it, they switched it to the word engagement. But there's a difference here that we have to reconcile with. So I understand why this document says this, and I understand that it reflects the current changes to the law. Whoop-de-doo, I get that. Okay. But realistically, when we sit in our head and when we brainstorm, how are we going to get families engaged at our schools? Okay, what we really need to understand is what we really want is to include families at our schools. We don't want to entertain them, okay? This isn't a roller derby, it's not a strip club, it's not a movie theater. It is a part of 18 years, their entire upbringing life, that we want to include them. They need to be families, not just the students. Include the families, include them in decision making, include them in all the other things that you have up in the document, okay? But we are including them, okay? We are, what was it? You had 7 things. We'll go look at the 7 things besides decision making. One second, guys. Link to learning, interactive. There you go. So decision makers is the one kind of family, and then models, and then advocates, and then collaborators, then encouragers, and then supporters. So we know what that's include. That's everything you could do right there is include. But when we are planning, when we are filling out these forms, and all these forms have the word engagement on them, we need to be able to understand that what we're really planning for in these SMART goals down here is to um include them. Okay, so who is accomplishing that goal? These academic goals, what families are helping accomplish the academic goals, and who is the supporting staff for those families. The cell in this chart needs to be split if this is really going to be a SMART goal template. Okay, behavioral goals. What person's responsible, what staff and what community groups and what parents are, working on those engagement goals. Right? Everybody can see this, right? Yes, okay. Relationship building. Okay, this is a great one to talk about PTO functionality. Okay, because we can fill out these forms and I can grade Fowler's latest PTO meeting because I don't get invites to the Delaware PTOs. I don't have those dates listed, but I do get invited to Fowler's PTO. Make it make sense. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. But let me go ahead and grade these to my understanding of involvement, of being included. Okay. Active family participation in school wide decision making bodies, SCLT, task forces, CSE, SPA, SPC. No, no, there's no active family participation in the anything but the SLT meetings. The task forces are empty. The CSE meetings are handpicked. Superintendent Parent Advisory Council, all they do is sit there and watch slideshows. So no, there's no active participation there. Written plans that define action steps with customized targets for increasing engagement of their families. Baloney. Baloney. You guys have your little Title I presentations, but you don't have your action steps. It is not a priority in the district yet. The district will develop an aligned training program to support staff in actively engaging family and community members. No, we don't have that. Okay, so you have um that handbook, which but is it aligned to your 21st century strategic goals? No. Does it provide hard, concrete goals? No. You repeated yourself when you said you guys were going to do these little service centers up here, right? Like in your strategic plan, you had family centers that were that you wanted to get one in every school site. But according to this document, you're supposed to already have them. And I'm going to find it. It's right there. Comprehensive services and centers. One-stop shop for development and appropriations of services to increase family engagement. Like, we need hard goals here. Like, we need to assess this curriculum, and we need to figure out what's preventing us from having a higher quality family engagement outcome, if we're going to use the legal term as engaged to equal high quality rather than the Oxford Definition Dictionary. But okay, whatever. Let's just say they're synonymous. Let's just say they mean the same thing and quit bickering about it, I suppose, if we think that's really going to help us. Okay? Like, we can keep grading for a second because there's some other ones that I want to see, that I want to go here. The principal communicates his or her vision for success regularly to help shape the identity of the school. Fowler fails on that because their principals refuse to come to the PTO meetings. Okay. Teachers share their insight with families regularly to keep families up to date. I don't see any teachers at PTO meetings. Yes, I understand that they exist after hours and the teachers want to get paid for their time, but that goes back on the district for giving away all of our signed basic funds. You gave all of our money away to Solution Tree. So no, we didn't have any money to pay teachers to attend our first September meeting because the agency made a decision to give all of that money away on us. Um Early and clear information on graduation requirements. They Fowler's PTO meeting is pretty good on that. Communication with families is in presented languages for the most part, but I also haven't seen more than a couple families at the PTO meetings I've attended. Um, Getting an interpreter through the school is extremely difficult, and there's been no clear instructions that go out to every PTO meeting on how to get that interpreter. We don't know how to do it. The principals don't always know how to do it, and getting it to show up on time in a timely way is impossible. The school uses creative solutions for communicating with partners and families in non traditional ways, working non English without transportation. We were using Zooms, but now we're not all using Zooms, and the Zoom meetings don't get out sent, don't get sent to everybody on time at every school site. Um, and I don't think there's a Zoom link for the Fowler meetings, so they would not get a pass for creative solutions there. Um, Families feel that their perspective is valued and heard by the school. Um, yes, I do think Fowler's parents have a good relationship with the school, notwithstanding a couple of things. Receive their work. This is the one that I'm looking for, and then we'll go ahead and pull out of these forms. But families know what is being taught in each class. With older students, the school makes purposeful efforts to ensure that families are aware of the variety of opportunities that exist inside and outside of the school and following graduation. No, that is also a fail for the Fowler PTO meetings because we do not get a report as to what is being taught or what New York State Next Generation Learning Standards, ninth through 12th grade math, is working on over the next 4 to 5 weeks. We don't get that information at Fowler, and I don't think it's being delivered to all of our PTO meetings. Okay, so here's why this matters. Okay, and it's really not even about it's mattering. It's We have to understand what is happening with our money. Okay, because this money is all gone. This is money that we could have used to commit to the very beginning of the school year, and it's all gone to our most vulnerable populations and to those who need it most. The agency made a decision to spend it before it all got taken away, right? Because they have to spend it, but it should have been spent accordingly and throughout the month. It should have been spent in August for August PTO meetings. There is no time off for a PTO group because September is the beginning of the month. Okay, and then in October, we need to have our Title I plan in to explain how to spend this money again the next time we get it. It happens that fast. Okay, and we all need to be watching these things. Now, if the Hanover report had talked about engagement, I think it would have said, in my humble opinion, that we need a better curriculum. We need a better engagement curriculum. And the thing about family engagement, and again, this is my opinion here, guys, is one of the things in that, if you watch the Hanover footage, okay, it says, one of the takeaways is that we need to be better at differentiating our instructions and differentiating our instructions in ELA and math. But I wish they had really done an assessment of our family engagement instruction, because I don't know that it would have said the same thing. I just don't know that it would have said the same thing. I am personally am of the mind that differentiated instruction for family engagement is not good. Okay. Why is it not good? It is not good for two reasons. Because it is not the system that should be controlling the differentiation. It is the families and the parent group that should be driving the things that make our schools unique. Okay. That is the first reason why I don't think it's a good idea. As a family engagement staff, they should be providing us with those reports about what is being taught, those dates for the upcoming events. They should be available for us to send out any flyers, text messages, or reminders that we, as the parent teacher group, as the family group, decide that need to be sent out. Now, yes, we can't send out something that has a bunch of graffiti on it, but as long as it's appropriate, it should go out. Okay? If it's a us parents decide what makes us different. We decide what icons we want to represent our PTOs. We decide if we want our PTO to talk about second gen, or if we want to learn more about conscious discipline. We make those decisions, which is $100 for a year seminar. Okay, we that is where differentiation comes from in family engagement. It comes from the parents. The role of the staff is to give us the data and the information we need to make those decisions, to contact the community partners we want to ask questions to, and to bring in anybody else that we may need to work with according to the way the system is designed. And the other reason why differentiated instruction is bad for family engagement is because it prevents us from, as a one whole system, doing what we need to do. Okay, it prevents us. We cannot create a volunteer crosswalking program because don't all have the means to communicate with each other. We cannot vote on whether or not we want to buy electric school buses because not all 36 of our school sites use parliamentary procedure. So we are locking ourselves out from representing the majority, and we are also preventing ourselves from meeting some of the system and 21st century demands we need in our schools, especially in our larger districts. Like, there's a reason why we vote. There's a reason why we have paper ballots or documented voting. Like, it's not just because it's a hee funny thing. It's how you turn the wheels of the train. And we like, you want to be heard, and you want us to have trust, and you want us to feel represented, and you want us to be decision makers, and we need the tools and to make decisions. Everybody, all 36 school sites. Those forms need to be, all school sites use a paper ballot form. The meeting where school sites are voting exists at 4 p.m. on the third Wednesday of every month. It's a 30-minute meeting. Oh, and then it's open twice a day. Once in the meeting at 8, and once in the morning at 8, once in the afternoon at 4 for every school. Systems thinking. Hard goals. Here. We cannot let this just become an icon. Engagement has to be assessed, has to be talked about, because we are consistently just pushing our money away at the end of the year. And that's not saying that the teachers dislike Solution Tree. That's not saying that our teachers don't need more support. That's saying that this Sign Basic 1003 grant should be spent. Those numbers should be going down monthly, all 36 of them, until zero. Principals, school administrators, PTO presidents, and family engagement staff should have access to those numbers, watching them go down monthly. And that's it. That's all I got to say. That's the bear hunting game, except for one more thing. There's one more thing I want to you guys to participate within tonight. I am looking for some more information, and I just want you guys to hang tight with me live while I submit these FOIL requests to the district. In the past, I have sent out FOIL requests, and only so we're gonna send out 3 of them at the same time. One for the Tax Good Behavior game. We're going to send out one for the actual instructional audit report. So if you look at the work footage meeting, they do a presentation, but the board members were given a full report. So copy, let's correct this. A copy of the full report of the full instructional audits that was done by Hanover Research and any notes. Okay, so we're gonna send that one out. And then this other one, because we are hunting for the pump bus, United Way. Okay, so what did we learn today? We learned that our family involvement money is in 236. Our Title I involvement money is in 216, and rather than spending all of it on time last year or letting us use it to get ready for the next school year as planning money, it was chipped off into something else and spent so it didn't expire. That is what we learned. What are we going to do about it? We are going to ask for copies of our Title I plans. We are going to attend our school board meetings, our PTO meetings. We are going to ask our family engagement department why we're not using parliamentary procedure, and ask them to show you the records that are suggested that prove that your group actually voted to not use it. And again, that's not a dig at anybody, but there should be records. If you are in a PTO meeting that is not using parliamentary procedure and does not have the means to send out a vote unto your entire school student body, to all of your 300 to 400 parents, if that is your PTO meeting, then you should be asking your principals and your PTO family program aides to show you the records of when your group voted to stop using parliamentary procedure, because the system was designed for us to use it, which means at some point the families in your team building chose to deviate, or the agency came in and made a decision for you. In either way, if we are going to secure things like fixing this first student bus contract and getting rid of relentless bus drivers and replacing them with persistent bus drivers, um, if we are going to get our family engagement resource centers up and running in all of our school sites, if we are going to get our family engagement calendar on the website actively functioning, we are going to need parliamentary procedure to help us get there. We cannot make any cross collaborative moves without it. We are stopped. Okay, our ability to be decision makers is muted if we don't have the ability to use parliamentary procedures and Robert's Rules of Order in our school sites. Um, So, as far as finding the pump bus, as far as family involvement at our schools, that is what we're looking at into this spring. Okay. I will be in touch, and have a good night. Stay warm.